that brings the conversation from a serious discussion about U.S. policy to the realm of the ridiculous.
This idea that we're going to use a drone to attack an American citizen in a cafe in America is ridiculous.
It's clear most Americans agree with Senator Rand Paul's elevation of one of the most fundamental of our civil liberties and his filibuster in support of those liberties. Tonight, the senator finds his national standing elevated as well. Joining us now is Senator Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. The senator is also on the Homeland Security Committee. Great to have you with us. You've done a great service. You've impressed everyone with your stamina. You've made a critically important point. How are you feeling after putting in all of those hours on the floor of the Senate?
Well, I was wondering if we could do this interview sitting down, but your staff wouldn't let me sit down. I'm still standing, but that's the hard part about the filibuster is it goes on. You know, we were there for 13 hours, but if you sit down, you lose the floor, or if you have to leave to take care of any personal needs, you lose the floor. So for 12 hours, almost 13 hours, I had to stay in one place.
Well, and to use the expression, you blew up Twitter last night, social media, focusing on what you were doing. Doing so, by the way, not simply focusing on you as a celebrity, although your celebrity has been significantly elevated as a result of what you and your colleagues did on the floor of the Senate. And I have to say to you, Senator, I'm not only impressed with what you said, what you did, but the fact that you brought so many of your colleagues forward into that filibuster, standing on that principle. You've got to be incredibly gratified as a result.
Well, it was kind of exciting because, one, we didn't know we were going to do the filibuster. We didn't talk to anybody beforehand. The opportunity presented it. We knew we were concerned about this issue of drones, whether an American president could kill Americans on American soil without any kind of trial, without any kind of charges. But we really hadn't planned exactly when this would happen. And then all of a sudden, spontaneously through the day, other senators began to come. And one of the other gratifying things was many members of the House of Representatives came over. They're allowed to come onto our floor. They're not allowed to speak. But it's rare that you'll see 15 members of the House of Representatives coming over to support a fight that's going on in the Senate floor.
You and Senator Cruz today introducing legislation specifically to prohibit the use of drones in killing. This is extraordinary that we have to have legislation and clarification on an issue to absolutely prohibit the killing of American citizens on American soil by these drones. It's just incredible as we say this, that this issue had to be dealt with in this fashion.
Well, a lot of this is because the president wouldn't make a response. You know, we kept asking for the last month and a half, I've asked President Obama to respond and say, your drone program that you do overseas, are you planning on using that on American soil? Because they've been saying, well, we kind of incorporate the Fifth Amendment process into our PowerPoint presentations in the White House and our flashcards. And I said, well, you know, that standard may or may not be okay overseas, but you can't accuse an American secretly and then bomb them while they're at a restaurant. And finally today we did get an answer. We finally got a response to the president, and he says he doesn't think he has the authority to do that. And I think we should all feel comforted, although a little disappointed that it took nearly a month and a half to get the answer from him. You also prompted the most succinct answer I've ever heard in his entire tenure as Attorney General, Eric Holder, ever used. Holder in his letter saying, it has come to my attention that, and I want to share this with our audience, it has come to my attention that you have now asked an additional question. Does the president have the authority to use a weaponized drone to kill an American not engaged in combat on American soil? The answer to that question is no. Well, it wasn't really an additional question. It was just a sharpened up question. We kept asking the same question and focusing it and focusing it and focusing it. And people would say, well, why would you have to ask the president that? Why would you ever imagine that he would do this? One, because the drone strikes overseas do occur on people who are not actively engaged in combat. And then the other reason we have to is even some on my side, some Republican senators believe that there is no limitation to where the battlefield is and that America is actually part of the battlefield, but they want the law of wars to apply, which means, you know, in war you don't get due process. If our soldiers are shooting, you don't have to get a lawyer, you kill the enemy. But in America, if part of America is not the battlefield, you do get a lawyer and you do get due process if you're in America.
I want to turn, if I may, to two of the senior senators in the Republican Party, and neither of them being particularly gracious toward you, in fact, insulting as they could possibly be. Senator McCain saying to you, calm down. Senator Graham saying much of what you were saying was ridiculous. And by the way, as you were standing in the midst of the Senate, they were having dinner with the President of the United States and 10 other senators who were conducting, if you will, a bipartisan feast there at the President's, on the President's dime. What is your reaction to their comments?
I think on this particular issue, they're on the wrong side of the history. If you're going to be dismissive of people who want to protect the right to trial by jury, the right to due process, the right to be indicted and charged, you're really arguing against the Bill of Rights, and they literally have. Last year we passed legislation against my wishes that allows for the indefinite detention of American citizens without a trial. And I asked Senator McCain a pointed question on the floor: does this mean you could send an American citizen to Guantanamo Bay without a trial? And he said yes, if they're dangerous. Even the Wall Street Journal is on the wrong side of this issue, and I think misunderstands it. They say, well, if you're an enemy combatant, the whole problem is who gets to define who's an enemy combatant and who's not. Yeah. And really judging someone's guilt. The senator is referring, if I may, Senator, the senator is referring to an editorial that frankly excoriated the senator on much the same grounds as Graham and McCain. And I get to express my opinion on this broadcast, Senator, as you know, and I think they were, as you say, all on the wrong side of history, and certainly issues that are most critically important to the American people. Senator, we're out of time. I've just got to say again, thank you. Congratulations on winning the point, the day, the principle, and standing up for what you believe is right.